I cannot believe that this just happened as Nick Robertson ended up accidentally injuring William Nylander and he did not return to the game. We have that. And then Nick Robertson later on in the game stole the puck and had an unbelievable goal that had a lot of fans fired up. We also have tons more to break down. It was a very interesting preseason game against the Montreal Canadiens that had a lot of things happen, some good, some bad. I'm going to break it all down for you all. But before we get into that, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, hit that button. It would mean the world to Darius and myself. We're super close to 13,000 subscribers, and this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. But Darius, some bad news out of this preseason game. Obviously some decent stuff too, but as you saw in the intro there, Nick Robertson gave, Nylander a little stick push, which happens all the time in the NHL, and William Nylander did not return to the game. He's dealing with an injury. And Darius, this is not what you want to see. You now have Austin Matthews injured. You have William Nylander injured. You have John Tavares also is dealing with an injury. But we're going to break it all down. And a lot of fans are kind of fired up right now at Nick Robertson. Granted, he run some of them over with the goal. But what are your thoughts on what was one of the most wild preseason games we had seen in a very long time if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Maple Leafs fan?
Yeah, this one was interesting. A lot of interesting tidbits to take from this one in terms of performances from different players. And we'll probably get to that later in the video, but the focus on Nylander, Robertson, and obviously Tavares, at the injury front. And, you can group Austin Matthews, who missed tonight's game, into that category as well. You know what? I seen a lot of discourse throughout the game after this happened in the first period on Twitter and obviously on the broadcast, on the panel. This is a play that I see personally like over 100 times a year. And I can't it happened multiple times in the Stanley Cup final alone last season. And this is something that, all hockey players do. I've seen it multiple times. Like I said, it was just a freak accident. It's bad luck. The fact, should he be more aware of who he's pushing with his stick? Probably. And at what moments? Probably, because right when he pushed him, the whistle blew and obviously he stopped skating. So it kind of tipped him over. It was kind of an awkward play, right? Like obviously if somebody else is pushing, you're not expecting that momentum. It's an awkward play, but I see it many times. So to say it's a dumb play or anything like that, you can call it whatever you want, but I didn't see anything out of the ordinary in this play. It was just a freak accident. And obviously Nylander left the game, did not return, but Leafs PR came out during the game and did say that it's precautionary. So to me, that means that, he's fine, that they're just holding him out because why even play at this point? The only reason he's really in this game, because, he's not fighting for a spot. The only reason he's in this game is to see how he plays at center and to get more comfortable in that position in game situations. So I don't hate the fact that they kept him out. If he's not feeling well, that's one thing. We'll find out tomorrow, I'm sure. But at this point in time, to me, the language that they're using, I think he's fine, and they probably just held him out just in case, something else happened to him. And they also held Tavares out near the end of the game as well, because he got a hit in the first period as well. So probably just precautionary. I'm sure they're fine. This has been a hard training camp for a lot of the guys. They were talking about that before the game as well, because Berube is really pushing a lot of guys. So there is something to that as well. But yeah, probably keep them out for the rest of the preseason.
Yeah, it didn't look great. Like obviously you see Robertson here, and this happens fairly often. He has to be more aware and he gets smoked in the head, and hopefully it's not anything serious, maybe a concussion, but even that would be a pretty bad case scenario. So unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Nick Robertson fully. He should probably be more aware, especially in a preseason game, but at some point
Sure.
instincts just tend to kick in, and I'm sure that's what happened there. And there's a lot of stuff to go over. So Berube is around Nylander. Where did he go? He skated off after the fall. So concussion test and concussion protocol is probably what happened. Now, some analysts, writers, fans, Nick Kypreos came out and said that was dumb. That was just Bush League. So, I mean, some people are on that side of the fence. I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm sure a lot of you guys who are watching know I'm not a huge Nick Robertson fan. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I can't see a world where he's trying to hurt his own player. Very poor luck, poor awareness, I will admit, by Nick Robertson. But hopefully he's okay. And I don't know if I consider it Bush League, but it's definitely an interesting thing that happened. And unfortunately for the Maple Leafs, they're dealing with a few injuries. But Darius, I want to touch on some of the other things now, but let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the William Nylander goal, of course. But, I mean, he made it up, not the injury up, but he played very well, Nick Robertson, that was this game. You can see this, an unreal goal. We were both freaking out about it. And just a great, I mean, Nick Robertson, in the 2 games he's played, looked really, really good. He's looked very good out there. He's looked like he's starting to get more and more comfortable. And despite that unlucky, whatever you want to call it, whether you think it was irresponsible or not, a very good goal by Nick Robertson. He's looking like he's playing quite well for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, despite the play in the first period, whatever you want to call it at this point, I like you said, I'm going to lend to it being unlucky, just a kind of awkward play. But anyway, to get away from that, the goal was great. And he's looking very comfortable. And we talked about it in our video earlier that yesterday I thought, or 2 games ago, I guess, or 2 days ago in the last
Yeah.
game, that he looked very good. He was carrying the puck with a lot of confidence, a lot of speed. And Berube talked about not complicating his game, right? And that's kind of why, like you see here, he was moved into Group A. And it looks like he's probably going to make the NHL, depending on what happens with the roster. There's still a lot to go over before the regular season starts, but he's looking very comfortable. And like the Robertson of old, where we know, what he can do when he's going. And this is a great play. I mean, he's back checking, he lifts the guy's stick, he comes in, scores. It's a Nick Robertson goal, like quick release right through the 5-hole. It's quick. The goalie doesn't even have a chance to react. It's brilliant. It's a great goal, and this is what he can bring to the team on a nightly basis. So, has he made the team? You can't say for sure yet, but it's looking likely for me, and that's the whole reason he re-signed. And I just don't see him, being traded at this point. Where does he fit in? We don't know exactly yet, but he's looking very comfortable, and he's simplifying his game. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's trying to be more responsible defensively as well, which is exactly what Berube asked for. He doesn't have to change the type of player he is; just has to play well. He just has to play like Nick Robertson, just to a higher degree, right? So, he looks comfortable. He looks great so far. And obviously a lot of people will scoff at that and be like, it's just preseason. No, you got to take little things from these games, and he does look pretty good.
Yeah, and obviously he still did decent last season in Sheldon Keefe's dog cage. We knew that he has the potential to be a very good goal scorer in this league, and he started off by doing that, and a very good start to his preseason, and what's probably going to turn into him being a very critical part of this Toronto Maple Leafs team going forward, which neither of us would have thought a couple months ago when he requested that trade at the end of the offseason. You're looking at some of the lines that went, played today. Easton, Cowan, Domi, Marner, McMahon, Nylander, Robertson. Obviously, all these lines. Lorentz is looking very solid out there, but I want to touch on a couple of guys as well. Yeah, a couple of guys as well here. So Easton, Cowan. Now, I think this was by far the best he's looked in any of his preseason games. Now, part of that is because he was obviously surrounded with Max Domi and Marner. Domi was really trying to feed him and get him going and get him a goal. Ultimately, didn't happen. But Easton Cowan looked comfortable. He looked good. I saw some writers and reporters tweeting Easton Cowan needed to make a statement this game and put on a show for himself, and he did pretty good. I think he did. I had a very solid game. He looked really impressive, and I want to get your thoughts on him. I thought he had a very good game, looked very comfortable out there. He's getting better and better with each game. You go from the first game to last game where he looked a little bit better, incrementally better, and then today, I think he had a very, very solid game. Granted, he was paired with some good NHL talent there.
Yeah, he was, right? He was given the opportunity today. We've talked a lot about how in the first 2 preseason games, I feel like they've kind of been putting roadblocks ahead of him, and he's not playing with really good caliber players. He's been put in weird situations on purpose because I feel like they're trying to see if he can rise above that stuff. And if he can, then he has a better likelihood of making the team. And I don't think he's done that to this point. Obviously, tonight he was put on the first line, quote unquote, with two really good talents in Marner and Domi, the London Knights line altogether. Tavares was probably upset that he was left out of that, actually. But, it was a good looking line, like you said, Domi, and it's preseason. The fact that Domi was passing off shots, I don't care because it is preseason. At the end of the day, try to feed the kid in Easton Cowan to see what he can do. So I like that from Domi. That was fun. And Cowan had a lot of really good opportunities. He didn't score, but he had a lot of opportunities to score. He was in and around it all night. He was in the mix. So this was by far, like you said, his best preseason game. He did look good. Is it enough to make the team? I'm not sure. I'm still going to sit on my stance that he will make the team at least for a couple games like Fraser Mitten last year, and then he'll be sent back to junior. I don't think he's done enough in the preseason. And again, I don't know if it's his fault necessarily, but I don't know if he's done enough in this preseason so far to make the team full-time this year. So it's looking likely that he'll probably be sent back to junior. There's a couple guys that I thought played really well tonight as well, just to mention before we move on. I thought Steven Lorentz, the way he plays and the way he uses his body can be a very valuable asset for the Leafs. So it's going to be interesting. He's on a PTO. Does he beat somebody out for that job? I thought he played really well in his role tonight, in a penalty killing role too. I thought the Leafs penalty kill looked pretty good tonight, and OEL looked very comfortable tonight after a shaky start. That was a nice sign as well. Benoit, same thing. He looks more comfortable. Everybody else was there. Like, just because I don't notice you doesn't mean you're playing bad, right? But a couple of guys stood out to me just maybe because I was looking for it. Camp had a good game too, so it's going to be very interesting.
Okay as well.
Tavares played all right in limited minutes, right? Tavares has looked really good to me in the preseason so far. It looks like he's going to have a good season. So it's interesting. They're playing they're changing their play style. This training camp, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is a hard training camp because a lot of guys are fighting for spots and they want to impress their new coach. A lot of first impressions, even from guys who've been here for many years. So it's a lot of fun to watch so far. And there are a few guys that are making it interesting. I think that, we're going to have to see how the roster shakes out because they're probably going to have to make a trade, or somebody's going to be sent through waivers. Something interesting is going to happen here, because there's a lot of performances, at least to me, that, you know, a lot of guys are being made to feel uncomfortable at this point.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to the goaltending as well. Anthony Stolarz and Matt Murray saved 16 out of 17 shots, and Matt Murray continues to look really good. He went for 7 for 7. Stolarz 9 saves on 10 attempts, but I think Stolarz looked pretty comfortable out there as well. So that'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments your thoughts are on this. Obviously, a bit of a wild game. A lot of things happened we didn't expect, and hopefully William Nylander will be good going forward. But we'll keep you up to date on the latest news with that. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you soon.